I'm going to be showing you how to set up the Google Sheet and how to use the app to check in and check out Apple Pencils to students. So I have a new Google Sheet created here and I'll rename it to Check in Apple Pencils. Now the first sheet we have, I'll just rename it to main. It doesn't really matter what it's called. I'm going to make 3 columns. One column will be called IDs. One column will be called Check Out. One column will be called check-in, or actually 4 columns, and one column will be called status. Now, actually, let's add one more column and let's name it names. So for the students you have in your class, you can import all their names and their IDs here so we can see whether or not they checked it out. But for now, I'll just create some sample names. So I'll just use my own name and I'll use my own ID. So this column will be filled with all your student names from your class roster, and this will have all their IDs. Now for what we're going to do now is we're going to go on the bottom left corner and press Add Sheet. We're going to add a new sheet and rename it Check Out. Now it doesn't matter what you name this, but for this tutorial I'm going to name it Check Out with the capital C and as one word. And I'm going to create one more sheet and I'm going to call it Check In. One word with the capital C. Now on the main sheet, I'm going to write a formula for the checkout which counts how many times does ID appear in the checkout column or checkout sheet and how many times does it appear in the check-in sheet. So I'll write equal to count if I think we're going to go to the checkout sheet and select the first column, then press comma, and then press B2, which contains the ID, and then close the parentheses. And we'll do the same thing for the check-in. Equal to count if, and then we'll go to the check-in sheet, highlight the first column, comma, and then highlight B2, which contains their ID. And now we'll drag this formula by pressing it on the bottom right corner of the cell. We'll press that and drag it down, and we'll do that for the check-in as well. And the status, let's make this the difference between the check-in and check-out. So D2 minus C2. And we'll do the same thing. We'll press on the bottom right of the cell and drag it down. And now to get the information necessary for the app, we're going to press on the URL and we're going to copy everything after the /D and before the /edit. So we're going to copy that, copy it, and then email it to ourselves. And I'm going to open up the Scan to Sheets app. So the first time I'll open up the app, it'll ask me to log into my Google account. And we're going to log into the same Google account that we logged in once we made the sheet. But once we open it up for the first time, it will prompt us to add sheet info. Whenever we want to change what sheet we're adding information to, we can press the eraser on the top right, which is what I just did. So for the sheet key, it's what we just emailed ourselves, the part of the URL I showed you from the screen recording of the Mac. For the first sheet range, we named this to check out in my example. So it's capital C and then lowercase everything else. And the second sheet range is check in. Now we're going to press the button on the top left to turn on check-in mode. In my case, I already have it on, so I'll turn it off to show you guys. So we're going to press the top left button and turn on check-in mode. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to take the student's ID and we're going to scan that ID. Make sure it's centered. And then we're going to scan the Apple Pencil code. So I just made a random QR code here. And we can choose whether we want it to check it out to the student or check it in. I'll press check out. So after we've scanned the student ID, we can see in the checkout, in the first column, the student's ID has appeared, and in the second column, the QR code of the Apple Pencil, which in this case is just a random QR. Now if you go back to the main sheet, we can see that for Jabran Khalil, he has 1 check-in and his status is -1, which means since the status is negative, it means that he's checked out an Apple Pencil without returning it back in. Now, if we want to make this really easy to see visually, we can highlight cell A2, then go to the paint bucket here, fill color, and apply conditional formatting. Now, it's going to be applied to range A2, and we'll change it to custom formula, and we'll write equal to E2 is less than 0, and let's make the color a light red. So now, if they have the Apple Pencil checked out, meaning if there's a negative value in the status column, their name will be red. So let's highlight this and bring it down. So as you can see, once there's a 0 for their status, it means that they have not checked out an Apple Pencil. So I'm going to go back to the app. I'm not showing this in the recording, but I'm going to scan this Gibran's ID again. I'm going to this time make it in the check-in. So I press check-in, and now as you can see, a 1 appeared in the check-in column, and the total is now 0. Now what we can also do is, if you want to make it green if it's 0, is we can press the paint bucket again, press add another rule, A2, custom formula is equal to E2 is greater than or is equal to 0, then we'll make it green. Oops, I messed that up. 1 second. Let me just fix that real quick. Alright, so we can press the paint button, add another rule. Custom formula is equal to E2 is equal to 0. Wait. Let's just say E2 is greater than -1. Okay, done. And let's copy that formula down. Now let me show you another example. I'll go back to my phone and I'm checking out an Apple Pencil by scanning the ID, then the Apple Pencil, and I'm pressing checkout. And now for Gibran Khalil, he has 2 checkouts and only 1 check-in. Therefore, his status is negative and it's red. So essentially, you can have all your students in this column, all your IDs in this column. You can just take a quick glance to see which students have checked it in, which ones have it checked out, and which ones have never checked it at all. And at the end of the week, what you can do is you can just go to your spreadsheets and clear all the information for the week to clean it out for the week. So yeah, this is where all the info is. And if you have any questions, you can just ask me about it. But that's essentially the basics of how to set up the sheet and the app.